Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the official opening of Scifest 2016. Can I get a round of applause, please? So great, I can't see anything. So ladies and gentlemen, we've got a couple of proceedings for you tonight, but I don't think that any kind of opening of anything is worth anything without a bit of entertainment to begin with. Right? Yes. All right. So up first, I'd like to welcome my very own band, Cookin' and Steamin'.
Gonna make a change for once in my life. It's gonna feel real good, gonna make a difference, gonna make it right. As I turn up for collar on my favorite winter coat, this wind is blowing my mind. I see the kids on the street, but not enough to eat. Who am I to be blind, pretending not to see their need? A summer's disregard, a broken valentine, and a one-man soul. They follow each other on the winter road, 'cause they got no way. Change for once in my
never know how much I care. But when you put your arms around me, I get a fever that's so hard to bear. You give me fever in the morning, fever all through the night. Fever when you kiss me, fever all through the night.
Sun lights up the daytime, moon lights up the night, but I light up when you call my name, and I know you're gonna treat me right. You give me fever in the morning, fever when you hold me tight, fever when you kiss me, fever all through the night. Start spreading the news. I'm leaving today. I want to be a part of it. New York, New York. These vagabond shoes are longing to stray right to the very heart of it in old New York. I want to wake up in a city that doesn't sleep, and I'll be king of the hill, top of the heap. These little town blues are melting away. I'll make a brand new start of it in old New York. If I can make it here, I'll make it well. Anywhere, it's up to you. New York, New York. Key change. In old New York, I want to wake up in a city that doesn't sleep, and I'll be king of the hill, top of the heap, king of the hill, a number one.
Couldn't hear anything. What? So, stop it.
I think we should finish it.
Should we finish the song?
These little town blues are melting away. I'm gonna make a brand new start of it in old New York. If I can make it here, I'm gonna make it anywhere. It's up to you, New York, New.
'Cause never know how much I love you. You never know how much I love you. But when you put your arms around me, I get a fever that's so hard to bear. You give me fever in the morning, fever all through the night. Fever when you kiss me, fever when you hold me tight.
Everybody's got the fever, that is something you all know. Fever isn't such a new thing, fever started long ago.
What a lovely, what a lovely
say I didn't mean it when I said I didn't love you so. I should have held on tight, I never should have let you go. I didn't know nothing, I was stupid, I was foolish, I was lying to myself. I did not fathom I would ever be without your love. Never imagined I'd be sitting here beside myself. Cause I didn't know you, cause I didn't know me, cause I thought I knew everything. I never felt the feeling that I'm feeling now that I don't hear your voice. I'll kiss your lips or kiss your love cause I don't have a choice. Oh, what I wouldn't give to have you right beside me here right now. Cause baby, I've been really trying, baby, to hold back this feeling for so long. And if you feel like I feel, baby, and come on, oh, baby, come on, let's get it on. Oh, baby, let's get on. Hey, you and me, we made a vow, for better or for worse. I can't believe you let me down, but the truth's in the way it hurt. You say I'm crazy, say but when you call me baby, I know I'm not the only one. When your legs don't move like they used to before, and I can't sweep you off of your feet, will your mouth still remember the taste of my love? Will your eyes still look at me sweet? Cause baby, I will be loving you till we're 17. And darling, my heart can fall as hard at 23. I'm thinking about how when you left I lost a part of me. Is that so hard to believe? Come back, baby, please come. Who's am I gonna lean on when times get rough? Who's gonna talk to me on the phone when the sun comes up? Who's gonna take your place, baby? Nobody else. Oh, baby, baby, we belong together, honey, now. Take me into your loving arms. Kiss me under the light of 1,000 stars. Place your hand on my beating heart. I'm thinking out loud, cause we found love right where we are. Sing! A little louder. So let's get it on. Let's get it on. All the musicians up on the keys. On the bass.
Brandon Yandel on the drums. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Are you ready for your next act? Severely exciting. I'd like to welcome to the stage 2 rappers. Now these guys have been doing what they've been doing. Their rap battle has been going on for over 2 years. Now, I won't do them any justice in my introduction because they're so good. So please, ladies and gentlemen, welcome Suri and Poetic.
Okay.
What's up? Yeah, what's up?
Good.
What's up? What it do?
Mic check. What we're about to do is battle rap. It's growing in South Africa. I'm Siri, he's Poetic, he's from PE. I just came straight from Joburg from my previous battle, so we're just gonna start. Yep, 3 rounds. Then you guys decide who won, okay? Okay. He said, be careful what you say, kid. He ain't scared to break bones. But he's only good for the talking, no action like the friend zone. You see, he dissed me at university, so I had to think of something cold, like picture a traffic man the way I'm running roads. See, I'm cold, partner. I don't know why you'll bother. He had motivation and drive to come through to his own startup, but his drive led him to his death like Paul Walker. Hold up. You're 35 and still chasing a music career? Hold up. Your mom would have taken abortion pills if she knew this. I mean, hold up. If she knew this. I mean, your birth was an accident. Your dad had to call the insurance. What? But you're known for being aggressive in your battles. What you was told. Stay in your place, don't act wrong, kid. Because my fist put him in his, want to make him stay in his place like he's homesick. You see, I'm a skinny dude who does karate. So best believe my left hand to get him hooked. Like serious winning the fight. Bow, bow. I turn into a lawyer the way I'm showing him rights. I'm nice. Rights lawyer, my God. You were not gifted. My boss hit him. He said I wasn't ready to handle what's in store. So I said, screw it, I'm shoplifting, shoplifting. Tell me you ain't inspired, king. Even if you slept in the forest, you still could have beat me in your wildest dreams. I'm nice. Hold up. Listen to these punchlines. Tell me you ain't inspired to be real. This ain't a battle, it's a barbecue. Because if this chicken's want beef, I break the ribs and put fire to the grill. Boss. I catch y'all a new battle rap fan, so you know where you could already know. But where I'm from, WMG is bars of the jokes type.
That was good. Now, before we get started, a moment of silence for the dearly departed. To those who are about to lose their lives on the stage, from those who possess ammunition driven by rage now. Let us begin. Holla back. I'm back into things. Shouts to the last masses for backing the kid. My backpack got mad packs, cats got cap when I snap back at your face. I dare you to slap back when I'm back slapping your kings. Young blood make the river new when I snap text at your wings. So who's poetic, you asking? I'm a trained assassin with Hitler's passion, a commander hit squad, platoon captain. So when my temper snapping, I got my AKs clapping, applauding till I wear you out like a dated fashion. Hold up. So I'm all in the flight loading a tech. Souls who get lost in a sec. My goons keeping pilots in check. And anyone who dares sneezes on deck. Well, I strap you with a nuclear bomb from your toes to your neck. Then escape with... Hold up. Then escape with a parachute that's strapped on my back. So when the plane blows, this black box will be the only thing that's left from the wreck. I'm dope as fuck. My dopeness bug is never contagious. This weekend punk thinks he's gassed up, that's very courageous. And if he can't duck, then that's it, bad luck, so throw in your wages. I'm a flash drive past the majors, and he'll switch lanes quicker than a rape victim followed by strangers. John, pause.
Okay, this round let's talk about your girlfriend Harley. You know, the one that acts like a prostitute. Oh, you thought she was a church girl, she acting up, of course, Hollywood. Oh, she's such a romantic. She's always in a lovey-dovey mood, but I could never Kevin Hart's but the real husband of Hollywood. Kevin Hart's real husband of Hollywood. No, she cries like I need a man who's not concentrated on music. Someone to treat me well. Someone who's responsible, you know, take care of himself. Siri, if you pull him a little, teach him how to be real. I'm thinking the postman, the only time you receive a mail. Boss. He starts crying like, Siri, this is not all right. You got a harder wife. She is not your type. See, y'all thinking race murder. I'm thinking the voice note option because I really got a type. I'm nice. But you decide to be loyal to the half that you think is better. But she wouldn't be yours faithfully if she's signing off on the letter. Yours faithfully signing off on the letter. Your name is Poetic Black. Sorry, man, where's the book? Where's the pen? You don't seem too equipped. See, this ain't a battle, it's a history lesson on slavery. Black is getting whipped. I swear about that now. And y'all new battle rap fans, so there's no way that y'all could already know. And WMG is balls over jokes.
Awesome. Alright. So in the sector of battling, I'm a seasoned veteran, you'll never be better than. You'll see white lie when I throw jabs at your melanin. My scriptures unparalleled, your scriptures irrelevant. You write songs about how men are dogs, now tell me who's feminine. Sometimes I question your gender, Casta Semenya. Your question... Hold up. Hold up. Hold up. Sometimes I question your gender, Casta Semenya. My questions are unanswered, but I never surrender. On Heritage Day, you showed us why you're moist and tender. Why isn't the best rapper on anyone's agenda? So even if they put it in you, you could never cut it like a broken blender.
Back home, you could...
Yeah. No, I'm still going. Yeah. Still going, fam. Still going. Send your father of a father skeleton. Written your days are numbered like the Roman calendar. Now there's been something that has been grinding my mind. I've been trying to find a way of putting it mild. What if I told you your child wasn't really your child? Hold up. What if I told you your child wasn't really your child? I'm sorry to disturb the affection, but this has come to my attention, that there was a big gap even after you made the connection. Plus you're pitch black and your child is kind of light in complexion. Putting into whole perception, the idea of you genes really popping open during the action. You need an intervention, because your family is really crossed like an intersection. Time.
Huh?
Time.
Done, now go.
Time.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think with a rap battle, we've got to cheer for who we think did the best. So, those in favor of Siri, give a cheer. And those in favor of Poetic, give a cheer. Our undisputed winner, Poetic.
Please check both of our battles on YouTube.
Thank you very much for coming through, guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand as the Minister of Science and Technology enters the room. Our next act is Dr. Graham Walker. Now, some of you might have seen his presentation. Any hands up? Have any of you seen what he has to? Okay, so you know to block your ears, right? Yeah, okay. So we've got a very, very, very wonderful presentation happening, and we hope you guys can enjoy. Please welcome Graham Walker.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to do a short presentation about what makes Scifest Africa great. Things I love about Scifest Africa. We show people that science is all around us, that we can take just vinegar and baking soda, have a chemical reaction and make a rocket. We remind people that there is science in their kitchen, that there is science in their garage, that there is science all around us. Ooh, on the VIP, sorry. Okay. So, science is all around us. Another thing I think makes Scifest Africa great is we show how useful science is. Who drove a car here tonight? Okay, let's see how it works. We take a fuel. We have cylinders in the car and a little spark to start the fuel burning. If it wasn't for science like this, you wouldn't have got here tonight. And that would be a terrible shame. So much energy released. We can use it to make you scream. We can use it to make the wheels of a car go round. Science is useful. And of course, the same science can be entertaining. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I have another thing here. It's going to work on the same principle. A fuel goes in, the fuel burns, hot gas under pressure. Poof! But this one, it doesn't have a lid. A scientist, and this is what makes Scifest Africa great too, must improvise. They must be able to use things for purposes they weren't designed for. They must be able to engineer. They must be able to take one lid and... Science can also be full of challenges. This lid does not fit. We must improvise. Yes. And we must know when it's a bad idea. Ladies and gentlemen, I need a volunteer with a smaller head. Okay. Something else that makes Scifest Africa great is that it has common sense. Let's put something more suited in the canon. Okay, all right. We're going to use the same bit of science, a chemical reaction with a flammable fuel. That chemical reaction is going to be started by just a little bit of energy when I press that. As it burns, out comes the energy, and out comes our angry bird. Something else I think makes Scifest Africa great, and this is something that Scifest does better than most of the festivals in the world, and I've been to them, is that it makes it hands-on. It's very hands-on, it's practical, kids are doing things. Every booth out there, people are interacting. Learners, adults, they're doing real hands-on science. I'd like to show you my take on hands-on science. All the workshops they run, people are getting hands-on. And when we get hands-on, the science starts to heat. Something else that makes science great is that science can be a way to protect ourselves. The liquid on my hands, just like it cools a car engine, it cools my hand. I am fine, but ladies, if you need a cheap alternative to waxing, just don't use the water. No, don't try that at home. What else makes Scifest Africa great? Scifest Africa is a place of invention. We hear about inventions from all around the world. I have an invention here, and to power this invention, I need an amazing piece of scientific equipment. Under here, ladies and gentlemen, I have a highly technical piece of equipment that can make low pressure. All of these things, high pressure, so they push out. This one, low pressure. Ladies and gentlemen, this is exciting. Can we have a drum roll, please? Ladies and gentlemen, direct to Scifest Africa exclusively for the opening. It's the machine that makes low pressure. Ta-da! I told you that science was all around us. Now, I'm not going to demonstrate this invention, but an invention that I think is far more exciting. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a vacuum cleaner powered marshmallow bazooka. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we are not talking ordinary creativity here. This is a level of innovation that only comes from particularly talented countries. What kind of country would invent such a device? Oh no. Where? South Africa! Give yourselves a round of applause! Conceived, designed, and made at the University of KwaZulu-Natal. Best in the world. Okay, let's see if it works. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we've got our marshmallow. Now remember, this machine, it makes low pressure. All these things here, high pressure. High pressure in here, it's all squashed. It pushes the lid out, pushes the angry bird out. But this machine, it does the opposite. Now, if you're a good scientist, you will be skeptical. You'll be questioning things that people tell you, especially if they're Australian. You might think that this vacuum cleaner is blowing and not sucking. There's a simple test for this. Okay. The data shows us the air is going in. But, ladies and gentlemen, if the air is going in, then surely the marshmallow will go in, or will it? What do you think? Are you not sure? If you are not sure, that is wonderful, because this is why we do science. Because we're not sure, but we'd like to know. Okay. Woo. Okay. Oh. An amazing result, but more amazing science. Newton, his first law, it tells us why this is happening. The air goes in and turns the corner. The marshmallow, it is pushed along by that moving air. And when it gets to there, whoop, opens the door and off it goes. It keeps going in the same direction it's traveling until another force acts on it. This is Newton's first law. Now, another thing that makes Scifest Africa great is that they give you really cool toys to play with. What we've got in here is some liquid nitrogen. And while we're showing off the simple everyday science that surrounds us, that you guys can do at home, we're also showing off some stuff you shouldn't do at home until you've gone on to study science and you can do this safely. Let's get some liquid nitrogen out. Okay. Now this stuff is very cold, minus 200 degrees. I must be very careful, pop my gloves on. And I'd like to tell you another thing that makes Scifest Africa great. The amazing people that come here from all around the world. And people who have inspired me, lots of people I've met at Scifest. But the ones I was excited about today were the people from NASA. And I thought, why don't we make a rocket since the lovely people from NASA are here? Now, liquid nitrogen boils at room temperature. You can't see the nitrogen, but you can see this fog it's making because it is so cold, minus 200 degrees. Very, very cold. Now, because it boils at room temperature, just like these other things, it can make pressure as it gets bigger. More and more pressure until, look out, guys! Off it goes. Now, you can see the Australian space program. It's not quite what you guys have. But anyway. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're almost out of time, but I thought we'd finish with one last experiment. It's a bit of an exciting one. Oh, no, we've got 3 experiments to go. Okay. But I thought we should celebrate the theme of Scifest Africa. And I'd like to ask you, what do you think would happen if rather than putting a cork in and letting it go, instead we put the lid on? Ladies and gentlemen, I think you know what might happen. What we've got here is a specially designed explosion-proof bin with little bottle, because the big bottle is a little bit too exciting. And to make it a little bit more interesting, we're going to put these little fellas into the bin as well. Now, I know some of you might be worrying about these little toys, but don't worry, guys. The teddies, they can bear it. Okay. All right. So, we're going to pop the nitrogen in. Remember, this nitrogen is boiling. It boils at room temperature. As it boils, it gets bigger. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger. But because it's in the bottle, it's got nowhere to go. So the pressure inside the bottle is going to increase, just like it increased in the tin and increased in the cannon. And that pressure is going to cause the bottle to break at a pressure of about 5 times the pressure in a car tyre. Okay. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to dedicate this demonstration to the theme of Scifest Africa this week, because it is only a matter of time until that thing explodes. Block your ears. Now, ladies and gentlemen, one other thing that Scifest Africa does well, something that makes it great, is that whether it is metaphoric or literal, this festival finishes with a bang. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, we're going to finish with a bang. And because I couldn't choose which one, we're going to finish with 2 bangs. Okay, all right. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm excited about this bang because this bang is going to be done with hydrogen. Great thing to teach people about chemistry, but also a great fuel for our future. Burning hydrogen, it doesn't make any pollution. No carbon dioxide emissions. And that's something else that makes Scifest Africa great. It gets us to think about our planet in different ways. 5! Block your ears, ladies and gentlemen. 5, 4...
3, 2, 1.
Now, one other thing that makes Scifest Africa great is that Scifest Africa has resilience. 20 years, ladies and gentlemen. Give them a round of applause. It keeps coming back. It keeps getting bigger. This balloon is smaller, but I promise you it will be bigger. In this balloon, the lovely people at Rhodes have given us some pure oxygen, which is also in the balloon. And this time, I will insist for safety purposes that you block your ears. I really mean it, sir. Okay, all right. Guys, if you didn't, you'd probably be all right, but a good scientist always knows when to take extra precautions. Ladies and gentlemen, please block your ears. Give me the countdown from 5, 4, Ladies and gentlemen, this is what makes Scifest Africa great. Thank you very much.
Wow. Please give him another round of applause. That was rather frightening. I don't know if the front row felt the heat. Yeah, backstage somebody got singed a little bit. It was a little bit awkward. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now going to go on with the formal proceedings for tonight. And so to kick off everything, I'd like to welcome your host for this evening from the Grahamstown Foundation, Miss Louisa Clayton.
Thank you, Kay. Please give Kay a big clap. Yes. Do I still have my eyebrows? How about the rest of you? They're good? Yeah? Great. And we still have our theatre. Thank you, Graham. I was very nervous. It's lovely to be here this evening, and it's just wonderful to have the theatre full of young people again. I always say this, it looks its very best, full of young people. So good evening, and I warmly welcome you on behalf of Scifest Africa, the Advisory Committee, and the Grahamstown Foundation on this 20th anniversary of Scifest Africa. And indeed, it does have extraordinary resilience. And that is credit to very many of you sitting in this audience tonight. The chairman of Scifest Africa's Advisory Committee, Kevin Govender, and I just have to mention this first up because it's something we're sharing in the excitement of this award. He's unable to be with us tonight. He sends his warmest regards and good wishes to all his friends, and that is all of you. Recognizing how science, technology, and culture impacts on our everyday lives and how we can use science to improve communities, and the International 2016 Edinburgh Medal, we have Britain well represented here tonight, will be jointly awarded to Kevin Govender and the International Astronomical Union, the IAU, on Wednesday the 30th of March. This is a very recent announcement by the Edinburgh's Lord Provost, Donald Wilson, as part of the 2016 Edinburgh International Science Festival to recognize Kevin's and the IAU's wide-reaching contribution to science. I think that's an amazing accolade, and it's just incredible that he's part of this community. In receiving this honor, Kevin will join the ranks of intellectuals and visionaries such as previous awardees Amartya Sen and Sir David Attenborough. Kevin, we miss you tonight, but may you glow in glory with the light of Scifest Africa, and know that we are grateful to you and your committee for everything you do for this project. And we are proud to have you as a key member of the Scifest Africa team. This festival is a monumental celebration of all things scientific, and this year we acknowledge the celebration of South African science, of Homo Naledi, of the Bloodhound Project, and NASA's goal to send people to Mars in the 2030s. We have very special guests with us to share in the celebration, who we would like to acknowledge. Mrs. Naledi Pandor, Member of Parliament and Minister of Science and Technology. A very warm welcome to you, Madam. You're very loved. I think you can hear that. Dr. Monwabisi Godgwana, Member of Parliament and Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee for Science and Technology. And we also acknowledge and welcome, for those of you who are with us tonight, let me start with the speakers, in fact, who are Consul General Mr. Teddy Taylor of the U.S. Consul General in Cape Town. Welcome to you, sir. And Her Excellency, Dame Judith McGregor, High Commissioner of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. Welcome to you. We also have to thank His Excellency Mr. Adam McCarthy, the High Commissioner of the Commonwealth of Australia, for Graham Walker. and acknowledge His Excellency Mr. Walter Lindner, Ambassador of the Embassy of the Federal Republic of Germany, Her Excellency Ms. Ruchi Ganeshayam, High Commissioner of the Republic of India, Her Excellency Ms. Helene Budliger Arteda, Ambassador of the Embassy of the Swiss Confederation of Switzerland. Welcome to those of you who are here, and acknowledgements. We also acknowledge the support and in some cases the presence of Mr. Vumile Lewana, who is a member of the local provincial legislature, but he's also the chairperson of the Grahamstown Foundation, the institution I represent and that manages and operates this magnificent facility, the monument. Councillor Nomshle Gaga, Executive Mayor of the City of Grahamstown, Mr. Martin Mulcahy, Special Advisor to the Minister, sitting with her this evening, Dr. Petiwe Matutu, Chief Director of Human Capital and Science Platforms, an immensely wonderful friend of this festival. She's like a member of the family, and she's been with it a very long time. She lived in Grahamstown for quite a while. Her family is still here, and she visits very often. And Petiwe, a warm welcome to you. Dr. Angus Patterson, Vice Chairperson of the Scifest Advisory Committee, and Ms. Anya Fourie, the Director of Scifest. Not with us, but with us in spirit, the Group Executive for Science Advancement in the National Research Foundation, Dr. Beverly Damons. A warm welcome also to Mr. Levoyawani Maseve from the Science Promotions Unit, and to Dr. Jabu Nukeri from SASTA. To both of you and to Isaac Ramova, we thank you for the work that you do with us to bring about awareness of science to our audiences, the learners and the general public. And of course, let's not forget the teachers. There are many teachers in the audience tonight. We honor and thank you enormously for the valuable contributions you make to educate our nation so that all might have life and have it more abundantly. So welcome to all of you on behalf of the Foundation. And now I must mention some veterans. We have veterans of the festival, and when it's been 20 years, you just have to mention these people. Mr. Case Raystick, oh my hat, it's 20 years for Case Raystick. Let's give him a clap. Brian Wilmot, who started this festival. Our comeback guys and girls, we have a few of these. I'm going to rattle them off. Dr. Stephen Ashworth, Mr. Jim Adams from NASA, Eric Wilcots, I'm probably going to leave some out, Tabelo Nyakong, thank you so much for being here. And another significant comeback person, Dr. Wendy Sadler, who is our keynote speaker tonight, and this is her 4th festival. But thank you to all of you who come back every year and support this, and this is why Scifest is so resilient. It would not be without you. We're extremely grateful to the members of the Department of Science and Technology, Minister, and in particular to DG, Dr. Phil Mudwacha, and who with his colleagues has applied his mind to the value of this project and given time and worked with us to make Scifest Africa sustainable. We're equally grateful to the embassies and consular officials who have played active roles in contributing to this event, and many of you who have worked actively with us are in the audience. Without you, we would not be able to bring this audience and all the audiences over the 7 days. Who are our emerging and professional scientists, this exciting, diverse, local and international program. So thank you to all of you. And a big thank you to our Scifest Africa Director, Anya Fourie, and her hard-working colleagues, some of whom are not in the audience tonight because they are hard-working up in the office, who continue to defy science and work miracles to bring about these amazing programs. So, champions and fellow explorers on this exciting journey of time, past, present, and future, it's an honor to host you this evening. And so welcome and thank you for being here. And will you indulge me in a little exercise and a little storm? And can we do this thing because there's lots of you and the acoustics in this auditorium are so amazing. So we'll make our own little science, and it might not be as spectacular as Graham Walker's Big Bangs, but it will be an African storm, and it's going to be like a Mexican wave, and I'm going to start on one side, and I'm going to do it all the way over to the other. You do the action I'm doing, you start when I get to you, you keep doing it until I come back and change the action. I'll start the action, you don't start till I get to you, you keep doing it until I come back and change the action. It'll take 3 minutes. And you have to keep your mouths shut for this. I'm going to welcome onto stage to address you the Consul General, Teddy B. Taylor, from the United States Consul General in Cape Town.
Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening.
I know I don't sing, but you could at least say good evening to me. Minister Pandor from the Department of Science and Technology and members of her team, Scifest Director Anja Forey, High Commissioner McGregor, my other colleagues in the diplomatic corps, other dignitaries, greetings. It is a pleasure to join you this evening. I am finally pleased to be here in Grahamstown. When I first arrived in South Africa over a year and a half ago, one of the first questions I was asked, when are you going to attend Scifest and visit this lovely city? So I'm glad the stars aligned this year for me to be here with you tonight. I knew it was only a matter of time. With over 68,000 visitors last year and 650 innovative events presented by contributors from 100 different scientific organizations throughout South Africa and from around the world, Scifest is truly the continent's largest science party, and I hate to miss a good party, so I'm glad I finally made it. As I walked through the exhibits today and witnessed the excitement on the faces of the young people streaming through the halls, I truly understood the magic of Scifest. You have made science and learning a joy. For that, DST, you are to be commended. You're also to be commended for creating this magic for the last 20 years. Therefore, the United States Diplomatic Mission to South Africa thought it fitting that we take a moment tonight to salute Scifest and South Africa's Department of Science and Technology for this milestone achievement and for creating an outstanding national institution that fosters public awareness, understanding, and appreciation of science, technology, and innovation. For 20 years now, you have been creating interactive lectures, workshops, exhibitions, educational theater, Google Hangouts, laser shows, even murder mysteries, among other things. You even held a speed data scientist event. Now, that's what I call innovation. I'm pleased to say that the United States and South Africa have enjoyed a robust partnership in the areas of science and technology, from our educational and professional exchange programs that focus on science and technology, to the Embassy Science Fellows Program, to extensive private sector and university linkages. We're collaborating and exchanging more than ever before. We have several guests in attendance tonight. You've been on scientific and academic exchanges between the U.S. and South Africa. I want to thank them for their continued dedication to international scientific cooperation, collaboration, and understanding. Perhaps our greatest engagement has taken place thanks to the United States National Aeronautics and Space Administration, fondly referred to as NASA. NASA has been deeply engaged with South Africa on a number of fronts, including cooperation on space science, astronomy, human capital development, and various educational and exchange programs. NASA's history of cooperation with Scifest through the Department of Science and Technology and the South African National Space Agency, SANSA, some of it solidified in the Space and Science Astronomy Working Group of the Joint Commission meeting that falls under our bilateral science and technology agreement. Many of you have heard from NASA's Deputy Chief Technologist, Dr. Jim Adams, has been at the forefront of this U.S.-South Africa engagement since 2013, and for that, he is to be commended. Jim got me so excited yesterday at NMMU, I was ready to go to Mars. For the last 3 years, Jim has brought our best American scientists, astronauts, engineers, technologists, and artists to engage with our best, your best and brightest, and to inspire all of these young people. I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge the role Jim played in bringing Dr. Claudia Alexander of the Jet Propulsion Laboratory to Scifest last year. Who was to know that this turned out to be a precious last overseas journey for one of our greatest minds, who is now gone too soon. Thank you, Jim. We honor the legacy of Dr. Alexander tonight. Indeed, her spirit will live on in Scifest. In closing, I saw this week that NASA astronaut Scott Kelly and a Russian colleague whose name I will not try to pronounce finally returned from nearly a year in space at the International Space Station. This is an impressive achievement. Upon reflection on his sojourn into the unknown, astronaut Kelly said, "A year in space taught him that we all have to learn how to live together and take care of one another and this fragile planet we share." What a poignant reminder that we can do very little alone, but we can move mountains together. We hope that the engagement of the U.S. scientific community with South Africa over the years has been beneficial and a clear demonstration of our deeply rooted dedication to work with you on knowledge transfer and human capital development issues for years to come. And as I conclude, I'd like to quote my famous science officer, Dr. Mr. Spock from the U.S. Enterprise, "Live long and prosper." Thank you.
Thank you. Got to have some Spock in a science festival, right? And now I'd like to welcome to the stage Her Excellency Dame Judith McGregor, British High Commissioner to South Africa.
Well, Programme Director, Madam Minister, and friends, and everybody in this room, I'm sorry, there's not going to be any exploding buckets or marshmallows spouting bazookas, though I'm certainly going to try and learn how to make one. And we are not going to have a backing band, which is a great pity, or some amazingly inventive rappers. But there are so many things on offer here at Scifest this week and through tomorrow and the days afterwards that I think you're not going to be bored. I think the most amazing thing about Scifest is just the surprises, the extraordinary ingenuity of both the presenters and the audience, which makes it really exciting to come back to. And I'm a real rookie. This is my second Scifest, and I've been sitting all evening with people who've been here for many of your 20 years. So congratulations to Scifest. You're fantastic. Can we have a round of applause? But behind all the fizz, there's some important and very, very meaningful messages going on. Because not only is science amazing fun, as Graham was showing us, and really, really fascinating, but it's actually, these days, behind jobs. It's behind growth. It's going to make the difference to you between getting a job which will give you a sustainable future and help our societies to go forward and not. So it's a very serious thing amongst all of the fun and the gaiety and the ingenuity. My children tell me that I was BBT'd, not B-E-E, BBT'd, which means born before technology. That's when I can't, install my WhatsApp. But I think we're all BBTs because technology is moving so fast that we are all born before the next technology. So we have to move fast. We've really got to learn and take forward and have all the ingenuity that we can put into this. I can remember faxes and printers in the home as being amazing things. Today in Scifest, I saw your 3D printers producing bits of model cars to show you how Formula One has transformed the nature of aerodynamics. So, keeping up with this, understanding it, making the best use, as Teddy said, ensuring that our science creates peaceful societies and not societies at war, we've really got to keep up with that. And that's why I think it's fantastic that your Scifest not only celebrates all the excellence in South Africa, but the great partnerships that there are between my country, the UK, the United States, and many of the other countries mentioned. I'm delighted that the UK has been able to partner in the last 2 years with South Africa in something called the Newton Fund, and we heard about Newton just then, which has already created a pipeline of £30 million of investment in science exchanges and research development, and helping people here to go to the UK, and perhaps even more importantly, people in the UK to come here, to come to amazing places like Grahamstown, and to work together against disease, against TB, against HIV, against climate change. You're getting rain here. There's not much rain going on in Gauteng or in KwaZulu-Natal. Climate change is upon us in one way or another, and we need to understand that. And I'm delighted that what we've been able to do together has really created those friendships, that partnership, equal investment, equal benefit, equal purpose. It's really a big, big deal. But to get there, we've got to get going. And all the ideas here are going to inspire you and make some of you the best brains in town and to have really, really amazing developments, maybe even Nobel Prizes. But actually, at the same time, and I hope Sci-Fi can take this in the future, looking ahead to our next 20 years. We also need people with the skills to produce these things. So it's not just bright ideas in laboratories. It's not even amazing entertainment, as we've seen here tonight. It's people who produce these things, who design them, who create them, who maintain them, and who deliver them to other people. So it's all about skills as well. So this is a big challenge going forward. The speaker tonight, the keynote speaker, I'm delighted to say, because I would very much in this environment with Madam Minister sitting here want to trumpet women in science, but Wendy Sadler will be talking to you about how science is made simple, how we can get to that point of understanding and appreciating and living through science. And I'm so delighted, because it's been a big deal for ages, that many, many more women are now taking up STEM subjects, both in school and at university. Girls, I saw many of you out there this evening and around Scifest. Please do that, because we've been traditionally underrepresented in the sciences. And it's been fantastic to see Stephen here again, Stephen Ashworth, who's another kitchen chemist who'll blow you sky high in his efforts to ensure you how these things work. And Bloodhound, the supersonic car that's going to be actually beating the world land record here in South Africa, in the Northern Cape, before too long. And the education project. 1,200 schools now have an educational partnership with Bloodhound, and the team go round to each and every one of them. It's a fantastic and extraordinary endeavour. This conference is called A Matter of Time. And in a way we say that. It's only a matter of time before we will do this. It's only a matter of time before we will be able to be in two places at once. It's only a matter of time. And in a sense, because of wonderful sort of science fiction, Dr. Spock and all the rest of it, we think that. But actually, you know, Apollo 11 took 8 days to get to the moon, but it took 8 years to create that project to get there. So the message is preparation, investment, taking all of that through, view the future of South Africa, to really make that happen. However, not to despair, NASA is going to take us to Mars, and who wouldn't want to go there now Matt Damon is stuck on Mars as the Martian? Frankly, I want to come along for the ride. But before that, can I just pay testimony to Madam Naledi Pandor? You are a great friend of science, you are a great friend of education, and you are a great friend of the UK and all of the countries with whom you are partnering. And it's an honour and a pleasure and a privilege to be here to say that with you. Thank you so much, and may that prosper. And before this podium explodes and I will disappear, I will get off it and make way for the next speaker, which is the Minister. Hi. And that is indeed a wonderful introduction for our next speaker. It really gives us great pleasure to welcome Minister Naledi Pandor onto the stage to address you tonight. She's come in the middle of what is normally her hectic schedule. That is normal for her. She rushed in this evening from meetings today with the President. She leaves very early on a flight tomorrow, and we are just so very grateful to you, Minister, for taking that time to be with us. It's hugely important for us to have you here. Please give her a very warm welcome.
Thank you very much, Louise, for that very kind introduction. Good evening, everyone. Molweni. Ninjani. Dalibawela ilwimi lethu. Ndivuya kakhulu kunibona. Kaniphakamise isandla senu ndibona ukuthi ngobani abafunda imaths nescience esikolweni. Nibaninzi kangaka andisavuyi. Let me begin by acknowledging our distinguished guests, the excellencies representing the diplomatic corps, our members of parliament and the provincial legislature, as well as councillors, the wonderful educators who support all the initiatives that Scifest undertakes, and of course the learners who are present with us today, and our parents and the community members who ensure that our endeavors are successful. My very warm greetings to you all. I'd like to begin by thanking Scifest Africa for inviting me to open Scifest 2016. I wish to thank all the partners who have provided support and advice to Scifest. This is, as you've heard, the 20th anniversary of Scifest Africa. I've been attending so many 20th anniversaries, I'm now realizing I'm getting really old. The fact of 20 years of this event confirms that it is a relevant and necessary part of our national system of innovation. Scifest has grown tremendously since the first festival, which was held in 1997. At that time, it had 15 exhibitions and 180 interactive events. It had 100 contributors and just 15,000 visitors. This year, Scifest has 50 exhibitions and 650 interactive events, 350 contributors, and it is expected that over 55,000 visitors will attend Scifest. That is what we call growth. I'm especially pleased to see so many learners and educators here this evening. And I'm sure you are going to derive great value from Scifest. The primary purpose of Scifest is to introduce you, especially our young people, to the exciting world of science, technology, and innovation. And hopefully, for me, to encourage you to choose to be part of this community of science and innovation. I'm sure all of you will agree that by attending this event, you become part of this endeavor that I have and my colleague, ministers on the African continent, that we in Africa must begin to succeed in making science and innovation a strong part of the contribution to the development and growth of Africa. So by taking up an interest in science, technology, and innovation, you become part of an army of people who will assist us to change the character of Africa. Because we cannot advance the ambitions of Africa without science and technology. We cannot advance our ambitions in science and technology without you, the practitioners, becoming immersed in these subjects, becoming experts within them, and assisting us to achieve our development goals. So we actually have an agenda for you. Do understand that it's not just about fun, we have an agenda. And I think it's extremely important that you understand that there is a purpose behind our investing in such significant public engagement in science. We, of course, as the Department of Science and Technology, support many activities that have the intention of promoting science. They include this very event, Scifest. We host annually a National Science Week. We have science centers that we have established in various parts of the country. I was extremely troubled last week when a group of hooligans at the University of Northwest burned down our new science center. And I hope that will never happen again in our country. I hope when you become students at university, if you have any matter you wish to protest about, I hope you will protest peacefully and that you will never burn down any facility that has been put up for the good of our young people. We also, of course, as part of science and technology, host a range of programs run by the South African Agency for Science and Technology Advancement, or SASTA. Those colleagues do wonderful work. They reside within our National Research Foundation and really mount the large measure of the programs for youth into science that we host as DST. Now, many people say, hey, lo mama uyasihlupha. Uthanda ukukhuluma nge-maths, uthetha nge-science, uthanda i-technology. Masimbona phaya eParliament akalaleli nokulalela upresident. Umane hleli kwi-iPad yakhe. Hey, ayithanda i-technology. Let me tell you why we love technology. Let me tell you why I have the ambition for you to take up science, mathematics, technology, and to become innovators. I want to share with you my dream for who you will become. I want to begin by talking about, he's now a youngish man, he's no longer so young, who became enamored, attracted to science engagement activities in his youth. And he told me that they inspired him deeply. His name is Professor Chilidi Marwala. He decided to pursue science and technology. And today, he's the Deputy Vice Chancellor for Research at the University of Johannesburg. He shared with me that when he was a young man at school, he won the National Science Olympiad back in 1989. Then he was a delegate to the Youth Science Week and the London International Youth Science Forum. And he says these two events really cemented his interest in science. Between 1997 and the year 2000, he studied for a PhD, a doctorate, not a professor, a PhD in computational intelligence. Computational intelligence. After which, he told me, he became a postdoctoral research associate at the University of London's Imperial College of Science, Technology and Medicine, working on developing intelligence software. And this kondi ezizinto kodwa zimandi mawusithetha. In 2003, he became the first African engineer to be awarded the National Research Foundation's President's Award, which is presented to researchers younger than 35 years of age and who are considered likely to become future international leaders in their field. Doesn't end there. In 2007, he was awarded a South African Research Chair, and soon after that, he was appointed Deputy Vice Chancellor, responsible for research at the University of Johannesburg. And he continues today to do research and to rise and to rise. That is what I'm hoping for you. But I don't stop there. As was advised by the magical scientist here, I did more research. Science engagement activities were also a great encouragement to Kevin Govender, who was spoken of earlier. And he has become, as you've been told, the first South African to be awarded the prestigious Edinburgh Medal as a result of his work in the Office for Astronomy Development, an initiative that is funded by ourselves through the National Research Foundation and the International Astronomical Union. Now, this award is a very prestigious award given each year to men and women of science and technology whose professional achievements are judged to have made a significant contribution to the understanding and well-being of humanity. This is only the second time that this medal has been jointly awarded to an individual, Kevin Govender, and an organization, the International Astronomical Union. In 2013, some of you might recall, Professor Peter Higgs and CERN received the medal. So this, to Kevin and the IAU, is the second time. You've heard of all the wonderful previous recipients, including 4 Nobel laureates: Professor Abdus Salam, Professor Wangari Maathai, Sir John Edward Salston, and Professor Peter Higgs, all Nobel laureates. Science engagement also encouraged another person I came across. These are all people you can be, and you will be, if I have anything to do with it. Also encouraged Professor Zodwa Dlamini to choose a career in science. She grew up, she tells me, in the North Coast district of Mahlabatini, Ulundi in KwaZulu-Natal. And today, she has scaled the rungs of academia to reach the post again of Deputy Vice Chancellor, responsible for research at the Mangosuthu University of Technology. She was an unrated researcher, that is, you haven't got a ranking through the NRF. She was then, in 2010, taken on as part of the National Research Foundation's Competitive Support for Unrated Researchers program, and she was on it for 3 years. She is the first woman Deputy Vice Chancellor to lead research at the Mangosuthu University of Technology. Science engagement activities also inspired 3 other outstanding scientists who recently achieved the African Union Kwame Nkrumah Continental Scientific Award at a ceremony held at the headquarters of the African Union in Addis Ababa on 31st January 2016. The 3 winners were Professor Linus Opara, who holds the Saki Chair in Post-Harvest Technology at Stellenbosch University, Professor Salim Abdul Karim, who leads the Center of Excellence in HIV prevention at the University of KwaZulu-Natal, and our own Professor Tibello Nyokong, who holds the Saki Chair in Medicinal Chemistry and Nanotechnology at Rhodes University. The African Union Kwame Nkrumah Prize is presented to African scientists who've made remarkable achievements in their fields, who have shown this through the number of articles published and research graduate students they supervise. The applicability of their work to the challenges of Africa is also one of the criteria that is looked at, as well as the opportunity for converting their research to a commercial product, which would be found on our shelves at some point. These examples that I'm sharing with you affirm that if we wish to continue to do well in science and innovation, we have to create this much larger science, engineering, and technology human capital pipeline. It begins at the schooling level. It begins with you. Science, engineering, and technology awareness campaigns, such as Scifest, are the best way to create excitement among you, the learners. But our hope is that your schools will also, having learned from Scifest, not just treat this as an annual event, but actually initiate science activities at your schools, which will assist you to do well in maths and physical science. You, the young people present here today, you have time to work hard and to succeed in science, technology, and engineering. And as everybody is saying, it's only a matter of time before you become a professor. You live in a time in which there are immense possibilities for all young people. Many of us in South Africa tend to focus on the dismal. Rarely and not enough do we focus on the possibilities. And yet there are so many possibilities for the young people of our country. So I want you to stop focusing on the dismal and to begin to imagine the possible and make real the possible. I would like you, as you listen to all of us today, just to take away from here, in your head, the notion, and keep it there, the notion that I can contribute to building a great South Africa. That's all we ask of you, nothing else. Don't undermine your potential. Don't undermine your abilities. Just have in your head, I am great, and it's a matter of time before everybody sees it. Thank you very much.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Anya Faria. I'm the director of Scifest Africa, and it gives me great privilege to say a quick vote of thanks and then to introduce our keynote speaker for tonight, who I know is just dying to get onto the stage and to do a whole lot of interactive fun to show you just what science communication can do for our world. To begin our vote of thanks, Minister Pandor, thank you very, very much for making the time to visit Scifest Africa. It is greatly appreciated. I know you have a very busy schedule. Our minister is on her way overseas tomorrow. Thank you very much for being with us tonight. Thank you. And Minister, you're not the only one who's starting to feel old when we celebrate 20th anniversaries. You know, when some of our learners come back as speakers at Scifest Africa, you know you've been here for a while. So, you know, thank you very much to all those speakers who have been coming back. I also wish to thank our premier sponsor, the Department of Science and Technology, for the consistent support that we have received from the department over the last 20 years. Also, Minister, please take back our thanks to DDG Afterheder as well as his division. Thank you very much. I also wish to say thank you to the embassies. We celebrate a 15-year partnership with the US Consulate General. It's the longest standing relationship that we've had with an embassy. Consulate General Teddy Taylor, please take back our thanks as well to your embassy. Thank you very much to SASTA, Dr. Jabu Nokeri, I believe you are with us tonight. Our colleagues at SASTA make a tremendous effort to support Scifest Africa in terms of our outreach, as well as Scifest Africa. Thank you very much for your cooperation and your support throughout the years. To my advisory committee, who are never too scared to pick up the telephone and to say, is everything all right? Or I have a wonderful idea for you. Kees Reisdek, you've been with us for all these years, but also to the other members of the committee, thank you very, very much for your support, for your ideas, and for keeping this festival at the quality that it is that we push out every year. Thank you very, very much. I also wish to thank the Grahamstown Foundation, parent company of Scifest Africa. Louisa, to you, to the staff of the Grahamstown Foundation, and also to our colleagues at the National Arts Festival. Thank you for helping us develop this best practice that has taken us from the small event in 1997 to what I believe is Africa's leading science festival. Thank you for your assistance. To our contributors, all 350 of you who have to stand on your feet for 8 hours a day, 7 days for this entire week. Thank you for coming to Scifest Africa, for giving of your time, for spending time with our children, with members of the public, and for really instilling this passion of science in our audiences. Thank you so much for your time. We also have to thank the city of Grahamstown and the citizens of Grahamstown for opening up this town to 65,000 people. Some of you know it's full because you're staying in Port Alfred. That's how full this town has been. Thank you for your support. Thank you, citizens, for always being welcoming of all our visitors. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you. Then to the educators. And learners, I'd like you now to give your educators a big round of applause. I come from a family of educators. My father is a teacher, and I can tell you, I think it's probably one of the most thankless jobs there is. Teachers given hours, not just during the time that they teach you, not just after hours to mark 500 essays, but also in the time that they give to bring you to Scifest Africa, to run your science clubs, to work with you in terms of all your extramural activities. So we want to say to the educators, thank you very much. And we honor in particular tonight one educator whom we have with us, Susan Ferreira from CBC St. Patrick's Kimberley, who has been supporting us for 20 years. Thank you, Susan. And ladies and gentlemen, I'd also like to say a very, very big thank you to the staff of Scifest Africa. They are working behind the scenes. They may not be in the auditorium. Minister Pandor, if there is one example of the DST internship program to show that it works, it's my manager, Phumza Chebe, who started with Scifest Africa as a DST intern 5 or 6 years ago and has worked her way through the ranks and is now the manager of this festival. Phumza, you and your team have been unbelievable. I think probably the best team that I've had. To pull off an event of this magnitude with the grace with which you do it, sometimes a little crazy, but the grace is still there. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for everything that you do for this event, for our visitors, for our contributors, for my sanity. You are incredible, and I will miss you very much. Thank you. We've celebrated 20 years, and now we look forward to what's next. Scifest Africa has a rich culture and heritage of promoting physics, chemistry, mathematics, what we like to call almost the pure sciences. And as we look forward into the next 20 years, what we would like to see this festival start doing is two things. We want to become a truly African festival, and to take this model and to roll it out into the rest of the country and throughout Africa, because we believe that it works. That's the first thing. Secondly, Minister, what we'd really also like to do with this festival is to start looking at human capital development in innovation. And, to that end, I also wish to welcome two very special guests with us tonight. And that is Clarice Greyling and Yolanda Nkala, who are both 16 and 17 years old, and yet they are on the lecture program with the likes of NASA at this festival. Clarice was the Scifest Africa Science Communication Prize winner at this year's ESCOM Expo for Young Scientists. And then we have Yolanda Nkala, who with her team, she's from Centre of Science and Technology in Cape Town, has developed award-winning apps. You are the disruptive thinkers that are going to take this country and this continent forward. This festival is for you. So let's work together. We want to hear from you what you want to see us doing in the next 20 years. Welcome to you as well. And with that, I know that our guest has run around because she's miking up and she's getting ready to give you a wonderful surprise. When we celebrate 20 years, we like to look at what the impact is of this festival. We've had a wonderful relationship with the British High Commission. And in 2002, we first met a very young lady from England by the name of Wendy Sadler, who was a physics graduate and had decided that, the science communication thing is quite all right, and went out into the world and decided to start her own science communication company called Science Made Simple. She came to Scifest Africa and really blew our audiences away. She started her company in 2002. It was the first year that she had come to Scifest Africa as well. And she's come back several times. And as the festival has grown, so has Wendy. And so what we like to look at with, tonight's presentation is really a celebration of what Scifest Africa is about. And that is developing, science engagement, science communicators, as well as, public awareness of science. So Wendy is a physicist. She's the founding director of Science Made Simple. And she has such a love, for these demonstrations and what you're going to see on stage tonight. And that's the reason why she decided to create her company, Science Made Simple. They work with a lot of collaborators overseas. Many of you, our international presenters, will have worked with Wendy and her company before. But over and above what it is that she does, she's also a lecturer at Cardiff University, and she's a partner of the training group, which specializes in public engagement training for researchers, specifically in the UK. She is a former chair of Women into Science and Engineering, otherwise known as WISE, in Wales. And she's on the advisory council she's a member of the Science Advisory Council for Wales. She is one of the UK RC's Women of Outstanding Achievement and a former Welsh Woman of the Year for Science and Technology. She's become a wonderful friend of Scifest Africa. She's come back several times. We've watched her grow as we've grown this festival. Wendy Sadler, it's wonderful to have you back in the house. Welcome.
Good evening. Just a couple of minutes, they're just going to check my presentation comes up, and fingers crossed, we'll all be good. But whilst that's happening, I just want to start with a little experiment for everybody here. And it's been so inspiring to hear all these speeches tonight and to be amongst such a vibrant audience. And that is why I love Scifest. That's why it's such an honor to be here to celebrate 20 years. Kind of 20 years of my career, but also 20 years, more importantly, of Scifest and all the good it's done. So I just want you to try something for me while they're sorting out the screen. Have you ever wondered when people fall in love with science? I think about it all the time. It's kind of my job. It's kind of my life, I suppose, to try and make people fall in love with science, to feel something about it and to want to do something about it. So just humor me for a moment. I would like you all to just close your eyes for 5 seconds and think really hard about when you first had a feeling that you loved science. Now, we're in Africa's leading science festival. I know in this audience there's a lot of people who must have strong feelings about science. So just close your eyes and try and think, try and pinpoint that point. Okay, do you have it? For some of you, perhaps that moment has happened today. I sat in this audience and saw Graham Walker. What a fantastic demo presenter he is. And some of you might have just had that moment, that switched on moment, just today, that is going to change your life for the future. Ooh, how dramatic. So, now we have a screen. Can I share with you what my first moment was? Is that okay? It's a bit indulgent, okay? So this was my first moment where I remember falling in love with science. Okay. Okay, there's a little cheat there. It's not actually me, because we didn't have digital cameras back then. I'm quite old now. This is my daughter, who might still be in here. I'm not sure if she's fallen asleep, may have gone home by now. But this is my daughter, Maya, doing an experiment in the bath that I remember my mum doing with me in the bath. Okay, now we had a fairy liquid washing up bottle filled with water, and she used to try and get me to squeeze that bottle at just the right pressure so that I could balance a ping pong ball on the top. Okay? It took ages. I remember we got drenched, we got soaked, we laughed a lot, but I was determined to make it work. I was curious, I was intrigued, and I was determined to make it work. And those are good characteristics for science. So I think you can never underestimate how early some of these moments happen. Some of them have happened to you today, I'm sure, and some of them have happened already many years ago. So fast forward 20 years, and somehow I found myself speaking to the Queen about fluid dynamics at CHOGM, in Durban, which was the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting. At the time, I worked at TechniQuest Science Centre, which actually built the exhibits, which some of you may have seen out in the foyer, which is now called SciQuest, and continues to tour South Africa. I know there's a lot of people back in Cardiff, where I come from, who are going to be so thrilled to know that these exhibits are still carrying on with a real legacy. So this is what brought me first to South Africa, and in fact first to Scifest in 1999. I don't know if the Queen understood any of the fluid dynamics I told her about, but I did try my best. But let's start with that exhibit, because I think it's an interesting one. The screen isn't quite working, doesn't matter. I'll just say what was on there. So the first thing I want to talk about, I'm going to give you 3 examples of how we can use demonstrations, we call them demos, to do something that's really important for society, how we want to engage more of society with science. Okay? And the first example is this experiment here. Now, some of you may have seen this. It's a very common exhibit in lots of science centres. And there's air coming out of the blower, and the beach ball just sits in the blower. Yeah, some of you may have seen that. Okay, and it seems to be really strange. It doesn't look like it should work, but it does. Okay, so here's another picture of us. This was set up at the Natural History Museum in Durban. Now, I think the danger with this kind of exhibit could be that it just seems too bizarre. Okay, now sometimes, quite often as science communicators, we have to use magic and mystery as the hook to get people engaged. But there is a danger here that if we don't think carefully about what we do with that hook, that we reinforce myths rather than break them. And so the first lesson for democracy, I think, really is we have to try and use that hook, but use it cleverly so that we don't reinforce myths. So I'm just going to show you. Now, when I'm a physics graduate, so I thought I understood a little bit about science, but when I saw this exhibit, I thought someone was tricking me. I didn't really believe it. If I just flip back so you can see the actual setup. How could air be pushing out against a ball and it not be getting blown away? Like, that seems to break the laws of science to me. How could that happen? Was something holding it up with an invisible string? Was it a special fan that was like sucking the air at the same time as pushing it? What was going on? I still didn't quite believe it. And I think it was actually only when someone showed me a simpler version and actually explained it well that I really got what was going on. So I'll try and show you that over here. Let's get some balls. So there's lots of clever people who design exhibits, and I thought maybe they've got some special fan. But then someone said, it doesn't have to be an expensive exhibit or an expensive fan. You can do it very easily yourself with just a hairdryer and a ping pong ball, table tennis ball. Okay? So I'll just show you. Hopefully we'll be able to put this on here. And this reminded me of that fairy liquid experiment. Okay, so making connections is really important. Let me just switch this on. Right, now, not only, sorry, it's noisy, can I balance the ball on the air, so we have gravity pulling it down, obviously the air pushing it up, but the amazing bit happens, I think, as you'll see there, is when you turn the air to an angle, and the ball doesn't fly away or drop off. Okay, so let's just try, see if I can recreate that. There we go, so we've got the balance. Now the tip. Until it eventually falls off. I love that. Okay, it's not as big and flashy as a big explosion, but you can do it yourself in your bedroom. That's what I really love. And actually, by that point, I knew it wasn't a trick. It was just some science. When someone properly explained about the lift that's generated by that fast-flowing air, I thought, you need to be able to make science simple, but you also need to be able to connect it to something real. So demos on their own are not enough. So when I came back to Scifest, I'd done a bit of research, because I think there's a bit of a lack of research. We all know that theatre and demos has a lot of effect on people, but how much? So I did a bit of research with the Open University, trying to measure what kind of demonstrations really stick in people's minds. Because if we want to make a difference to people long term, we've got to make them stick in people's minds. So I did a master's degree, and I looked at what kind of demonstrations people remembered. And in fact, as you might expect, maybe you won't, it's the ones that surprise people. So I categorized them into different types. And this curiosity type demo, like the one we just saw, where people are a bit surprised, it seems counterintuitive, it isn't what they expect. 33% of them cited it as the thing they remembered straight after a show, but actually 2 years later we went to talk to these people and they could still remember it. So that gives me inspiration to think that what we're doing here isn't just about a quick entertainment show, it's about something that can last a lot longer. So when I came back to Scifest, I wanted to tackle this head on. So we developed a special show called Top 10 Myths, which was just for Scifest. And I thought, let's just go out there and try and explain some of the things people might have heard on the internet. So this is really going back a bit, but the internet was kind of exploding. Everyone was finding out loads of information. Not all of it was correct. So how can we try and bust some of these myths? So we busted the myth that water does not go down the plug hole the other way in South Africa to the UK. I don't know if you'd ever heard that. That is not true. When I went to Australia for the first time, it's the first thing I did when I got off the plane. Okay, we busted that. And some other things as well. We also looked at lightning. Now, lightning is one of those things that a lot of people have a fear of, rightly, but not many people perhaps properly understand. So you might have heard the thing that says, lightning never strikes twice. Do you think that's true? In the same place, in the same place. Well, if that was true, buildings with lightning conductors would be quite strange because they get hit all the time. So we looked at lightning. We tried to understand how lightning works. And just in case you're interested, a few tips about how to deal with lightning. Okay? These are some ways to stay safe if you're ever caught in a lightning storm. So some practical information to take away with you tonight. If you can, stay in your car. All right? Your car is metal. If lightning hits, it will flow around the outside of the car, and it should keep you safe. Don't stand under a tree. Now, that might be your first instinct, is to go and stand under a tree. Do you know what can happen if you stand under a tree? The lightning hits the tree because it's taller than you. The sap inside the tree gets superheated and explodes. Okay, so a lot of people are hurt by exploding trees if they stand under there. Keep your legs together. What? Now, you might not know this, but I come from Wales, so there's lots of sheep in Wales. Okay, lots of sheep get hit by lightning. Might not know that. They can't stand on one leg. That might be one of the problems. But if you're ever caught in a lightning storm, there is an official way you should stand to be as safe as you possibly can. Shall I show it to you? Okay, I haven't done it in this dress before, so I'll just try. It's like this. Okay, I'm hoping you're going to try that out sometime. Because if you're hit by lightning, what can often happen is it hits the ground near you, travels along the ground, up one leg and down the other. That can be painful. All right? So if you only have one contact point with the ground, that's much less likely to happen. Don't be a man. We've heard a lot about women. This is an advantage for women, right? Well, or is it? Depends how you think about it. 3/4 of all lightning strikes hit men. Okay? Yes. Now, I'm sure with a little bit of scientific thinking, you can work out why that is. Men on average are taller, more likely to get hit. Men, perhaps on average, play golf more. Metal things in the sky are not good. So there are some reasons for this. Okay, but finally, don't be Roy Sullivan. Now, you might not know who he is, but he was part of our show about myths, because this poor man, who is a ranger from the States, this poor man got hit by lightning 7 times in his life. So it is not true that you could only get hit by lightning once. Obviously, he worked outside, but he must have felt by the end that someone was trying to get at him. Right, another thing we tried to tackle, it's not 5%, I should say, 35% of people in the UK, and it's more in the US, I think, and I don't know the statistics for South Africa, believe in ghosts. So this is something a lot of people perhaps are quite fearful of, and science is a great way of using demos to take away the fear. So what I'm going to try and do is tell you a quick story about how we can perhaps explain hauntings using science, all right, so that you can take away some of that fear. Now, it's all to do with sound and vibrations, and as Anya said, my degree was physics and music, so I'm very interested in sound and acoustics. So we need to understand that sound is a vibration. The other thing we need to understand is that some things vibrate at one particular frequency, or one particular speed, if you like. So I had to steal this from the VIP reception tonight, because I didn't pack my own wine glass. All right, so I'm just going to fill it with some water. Now, every object has a frequency, that's just how many wobbles per second, that it likes to vibrate at for it to make the loudest sound, if you like. It's called the resonant frequency. So you can do this with a wine glass. All I'm going to do is dip my finger in. You may have tried this yourself. Just rub it around the glass. And what you get is a beautiful, pure note. La. Can't quite sing it, it's a bit high. We need the singer who was here before. Okay, so you get one note. So because of the shape and the mass of the wine glass, it gives it that one note. This is resonance, okay? Just a quick test then. What happens if I drink some water out of that glass? Very quiet. Well, I'll give you two options, okay? I'll tell you it will change. The note will change. It could get higher and it could get lower. So let's all have a vote so I can just see what you think. When I drink water out of this glass, what will happen to the note? Will it get higher or lower? Hands up if you think the note gets higher. Everybody must vote. Come on. Unless you're asleep, we'll let you off. Okay, hands up if you think the note will get lower. Okay, a few more. Hands up if you don't know. All right, that's honest. Okay, let's try it. So science is all about making a prediction and then doing the experiment, see if it works. La. Remember that note? Wasn't wine. Higher. Higher. Well done. So give yourselves a round of applause if you said higher. Well done. Pour that on my friend. So if you said higher, well done, you got it right. If you said lower, don't worry, you're in a very good company. I actually have given that experiment many times, in fact, to a hall full of professors of acoustics. And 85% of that audience thought the note would get lower. All right? So it seems that even if you know a lot about science and acoustics, you can still get that wrong. And I think it's because you're doing a very good scientific thing. You're comparing this with another experiment. Okay? So if you blow across a bottle, you've blown across a plastic bottle or glass bottle, and then you drink water out, the note gets lower. So the opposite is happening. In this case, the glass and the water are what are vibrating. In the tube, in the bottle, it's like the air that's vibrating. So you get the opposite thing happening. It's a great way to catch people out in the pub, or for adults to engage with science engagement, if you like, in a pub. So what's it got to do with ghosts, though? So different things wobble at different frequencies, okay? And if you're up close, you can see the ripples happening on the glass. Now, in the lab, Vic Tandy was an engineer in Coventry. He worked in a lab. And he had a really ghostly experience one night. So he was working on his own, and suddenly all the hairs on the back of his neck stood up, and he felt really ill, really sick. And he looked around, and he saw a white flash go across the side of his lab. And he was a bit freaked out. But he's an engineer, right? So he didn't panic. He looked around his lab, and he found a piece of equipment that might help him. He thought this thing must be something to do with some energy in the room. Okay, and to a scientist or an engineer, we can measure that, right? So he had a sound device, a sound level measuring meter, okay? And he took it around the lab, and he found that in one part of the lab, there was a really strong sound wave. And the sound wave was wobbling at 18 times a second, 18 hertz, okay? We couldn't hear that because the human body can only hear sounds 20 hertz and above if you've got very good hearing. Okay, so we couldn't hear the sound wave, but there was energy in the room. And he found that it was peaking in the middle of his lab. Okay, so that could explain why he'd seen things moving around, because that energy could have been used to move things around. And it could also explain why he felt a bit strange. Lots of experiments have been done about whether infrasound, that sound we can't hear, below what we can hear, can make you feel sick, whether it can make your headache, whether it can do all sorts of strange things to your body. So all these weird experiences can actually be explained, possibly, by infrasound. But what about the thing he saw? He saw a light. He swore he saw something. Now, there's a bit of a gruesome picture coming up, so I hope nobody's too squeamish. But here's the human eyeball. Now, back in 1976, I know we've got some NASA people here tonight, so we'll thank NASA for this. NASA did some research to work out what speed does the human eyeball like to vibrate at. Okay, they took some pilots and did some tests on them and stuff. And they found that the human eyeball vibrates strongest at 18 hertz. Okay? So in this lab where this haunting had happened, the guy's eyeball had probably been resonating very slightly, not enough to feel, but enough to send signals to your brain that you couldn't understand. Okay, so suddenly some of these unknown things become a bit more explained. So in 2006, I came to Scifest. We trained a whole load of Sci friends to get into this idea of science busking, so they could go out to Pick and Pay and busk science at the car park. It's quite a challenging thing to do. But it's important, I think, because we were talking a lot about human capital and skills. And the thing that makes an exhibit that stands on its own with the potential to reinforce myths into something that you can use as a hook to explain a myth is the person doing that. And that is where the training of people and the transfer of knowledge really comes in. And it was at South Africa when I first toured the SciQuest exhibition that I first got involved in training people. And I realized that even though I love being up here talking about science, what's even better is training other people and watching them do it. And when you see that happen, that's a really proud moment. So I think the training of people is really important. So this is a picture from one of our trips to Scifest when we bought a theatre show here in this very hall. And the second thing I want to talk to you about is just how can we use science demos to engage people's emotions, right? It's all very well that we might all love science, but what about the people out there, all right? It's great if you go on and become scientists, but actually we need the other people to care as well, people who aren't going to become scientists, all right? And music is a great way to do that. So what I'd like you all to do is to do an experiment all together, because this is a really big audience. I like doing with everyone all together. Take one hand and put it in the air for me. Right, doesn't matter which hand. All right, just wave it around so I can see some of you. It's a bit bright. Oh, there we go. Great. Great. Take this hand for me and just place it on your neck, on your throat. And on the count of 3, I'd like you all to sing or hum a really nice loud note for me. Okay? 1, 2, 3. La. Beautiful. Oh, very nice, very nice. So I come from Wales, which is the land of song, but South Africa can definitely rival Wales, I think. So what could you feel in your throat? Vibrations, that's right. You need to be able to feel them. But music is a great way to be able to engage people. What about the music we had before the speeches? How fantastic was that? Everyone was up out their seats. It was great. But you don't need to have high-tech instruments. I'm going to show you a very simple instrument. Okay? It's a rather big one, I know, I grant you, but just a drinking straw. Okay, we've scaled it up because it's a big stage, but it's just a drinking straw. Now, if we blow a drinking straw, normally, the air just goes down it. It doesn't make much noise. We need to make these vibrations we heard about. So, to make one of these, just flatten the end out, and you need to snip it so that it's almost to a point with a slightly flat end, okay? To play it needs a bit of a technique. You've got to kind of put your lips over your teeth, like that, all right? And press down on the end, and let's see if we can make a sound. Beautiful. Not really. Okay, so like the wine glass, it only makes one note, so it's a bit boring, but we can change the note by changing the length of the straw. So, what will happen to the note if I cut the straw? Higher, yeah, you've got it now. Okay, let's try that. I'm going to try and stop before I get to my nose. Here we go. Oh, thank you very much. So this is a quote from one of my favorite women, and it's been cut off, so I'll just read it quickly for you. Maya Angelou said, "I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel." That is so important with demos. They're not They're making you feel something. You're showing people things, you're telling them things, but they're also creating a feeling in you. And that's how we're going to engage people with science, is make them feel, make them care about it. So I think that's a really important thing. So I'll tell you a little story about another show we brought to Scifest, but I want to demonstrate something as we're going along. So I need a volunteer to come and help me. We've had a lot of things to do with people's heads. Graham was asking for someone with a smaller head, wasn't he? I actually need someone with quite a flat, smooth head. Is there anyone who's got quite a flat, smooth head who could come and volunteer for me? I'm looking around. I might pick someone in the front 2 rows here, if no one. Oh, hang on, we have someone there. Have you got a smooth head? Yes, come on up then. Give her a round of applause. Okay, so sometimes, she's coming up. Yes. One of the things that can be difficult with science is a lot of the things that happen are invisible or too small or too big, so we can't really see what's going on. So they can become mysterious, and we don't quite know what's going on. Thank you for volunteering. Shout out your name for me, nice and loud. Sisibo. Okay, come over here, Sisibo. Thank you very much. What I'm going to try and do to our lovely volunteer here, it won't hurt at all, I promise. Okay, I'm just going to balance this cup on your head. Is that okay? Yes. All right, you've got to stand very, very still. Very, very still, okay? Now, in here is just air. There's no flames, okay? All I'm going to try and do is use air alone to knock the cup off Sisibo's head. And we'll see how much power air can have, even though it's invisible and you can't see it. So here we go. Whoa. Oh, did it wobble a little bit? Let me put my target up. That might help. Oh, there we go. Oh! It did help, but it was cheating there. Stay still. Excellent. Woo! It popped off. There you go. Thank you very much. Let's sit down. Okay. So you may have seen these around Scifest. They're called an air zooker, and all they do is they send a pulse of air out through the hole. You can't see what's going on. So we wanted to try and make a way to get it visible, and you may have seen more visible rings of air that we're going to have a look at in a moment. But let me show you one other way that you can see it, you can visualize this. Is we've got a metal loop, and if we just let it go, it causes a rather interesting shape, which, if we spin it around, makes quite a cool thing. Okay? It's actually called a torus, and it's exactly the same shape as the air that's coming out of that blue air zooker that we just used. Okay? And this is part of a show that we developed called Visualize, where we wanted to really take away some of the barriers to science. We took away all the words, because words can be a bit of a barrier to science. And we wanted to scale things up to become more theatrical. And one of the people who inspired me to do this was Physicanten from Germany, who are here performing at Scifest. And this is a really important message about what Scifest does in terms of cross-collaboration. So we're going to have a look at a giant smoke ring, thanks to Sasha from Physicanten, who's going to show us a more visible effect of this air. Here it comes. Ooh. There's another one. Wow. One last one, maybe? Wow. Thank you. Can we have a big round of applause for Sasha? Wow. I never lose the magic of seeing that. But to be able to make the connections then with those patterns that we see in science, which is something that we all do. So, for example, dolphins blow these things. Okay, they blow bubbles shaped like donuts. And we don't really know why, maybe just for fun. But you see these patterns all over. And the biggest one ever in the planet, as far as we know, is a volcano that blows smoke rings. Okay? This is Etna blowing a smoke ring. Now, what scientists are great at is finding patterns that link things together. And that's what our theatre show, Visualise, was all about, looking for patterns that link things together. And Scifest was one of the first, in fact, the first festival in the world that took our non-verbal science show, which is a bit of a risk, but Scifest is not afraid to take risks. And I can remember some very hairy moments on the stage where we got this show going, and it was just great to bring it to such a vibrant audience. One of the demonstrations involves putting music through a flame tube, and we had a group of African drummers drumming, and the flames were like dancing to the beat of the drum. It was one of the most amazing experiences of Scifest for me and, of my life, I think. It was so exciting. And this show that we developed with no words, called Visualise, and the fact that we were reaching a lot of teenagers with what we were doing, led to me getting the EU Descartes Prize, which had formerly been won by David Attenborough and Bill Bryson, who were my childhood heroes. And I stood on that stage getting that award. It was 50,000 euros and a really big achievement for us. And I was sort of pinching myself, how did this little girl in the bath turn into someone who could be making this difference to people that I hope we can make? Finally, my last thing. I want to talk about how demos can be used to challenge, in fact, smash stereotypes that society has. That's my lovely team. It used to be just me when I started in 2002. We've now got 17 staff. We've got 4 locations across the UK, and we've worked in 30 different countries. And the only reason I haven't been to Scifest for 10 years is because they keep fighting me to come instead. So this is what training's all about, right? We have to give them opportunity to do it. So way back when we started, we were an all-female employer. And we were really passionate about promoting science to girls. In fact, there's a need, obviously, for that. If you look at the figures in the UK, the number of girls taking A-level physics, which would lead you on to a physics career, an astronomy career, an engineering career, is incredibly low. So people talk in the UK a lot about the Brian Cox effect. You might have heard of someone called Brian Cox. He seems to be making people choose the physical sciences, but not for girls. It doesn't seem to be working for girls. So we feel really strongly about trying to understand, why is it girls aren't choosing the physical sciences? They do tend to choose biology, but they don't tend to choose the physical sciences. So since I've become a mother of one of each flavour, boy and a girl, I've started to notice what society tells us about what girls and boys like. And it's dangerous. It's really dangerous. And people sit and stroke their chins and go, why aren't girls getting into science? And actually, there's some very good reasons. And it happens very, very young. So some research in London at King's College called the Aspire study is worth a look. They've looked at long-term what makes people choose different careers over a really long period of time. And what they found is that if you haven't decided that science might be something you could do by the top end of primary school, which is age 11, it's very, very hard to persuade you to come back to science. Okay? So we mustn't neglect the younger students as well as those who are going to choose their degrees. And so this is a worry. In the UK, we've now coined this term called science capital. I know here we're talking a lot about human capital. What they mean by science capital is how much of your family influences you on science, or how much does the rest of society influence you on science? They call it science capital. And this is the biggest indicator about whether a student will go on and study science or not, is how much science capital you have in your life. Science festivals like Scifest and all of the world's science festivals are tackling that and are a very important part to play in raising science capital for people. But there are some other problems. I don't know what it's like in South Africa. I imagine it's not much different. Toys are really manufactured and marketed at boys or girls. Have you noticed this? So what are we saying to girls? All they should care about is looking after babies and making themselves beautiful. And all the boys get is building, driving, trains, So this is really narrowing people's ambitions. I think it's a really important thing. And it isn't just affecting girls, it affects boys as well. So this is what we sort of tell girls. You can't quite see what's on there then. On the left it says, clever like daddy, pretty like mummy. I'm not sure that's a good thing for a baby to be wearing. And all these dolls which are sort of really over kind of about attractiveness. And before, in the 1970s, I look back at some toys, you used to sell chemistry sets to boys and girls, right? Now, if you're a girl, you have to buy a spa science set because we have to disguise it to do with cosmetic. Why do we have to? Science is great enough. We don't have to disguise it. It's really important. And even more sad, perhaps, for the boys, they're being told that they have to be a certain way as well. Now, in the UK, suicide is the highest cause of death in men under 45. One of the reasons that is because men aren't being taught about how to talk to each other and communicate. So it's just as damaging for boys. This was just a really cute thing I found that a boy wrote. What I don't like about being a boy, okay? Not being able to be a mother. I'm not supposed to cry. I'm not allowed to be a cheerleader. I'm supposed to do all the work. I'm supposed to like violence. How sad. I'm supposed to play football. Boys smell bad. I have an automatic bad reputation. How sad. And I grow hair everywhere. So it isn't just about messages to girls, it's about messages to boys as well. It's really, really important. So our final example, I'm just going to talk to you very quickly about superheroes show that we do. We wanted to show people real role models in science and engineering and use demonstrations to try and get them to understand why the role models are so important. So we ask the kids, what superhero do you like? What superpowers do they have? And then we talk about the people doing the research that actually ties into that superpower. So this is one of our real-life superheroes, Professor Hayley Gomez. She's an astronomer at Cardiff University. She's one of the youngest professors of astronomy in the UK. And she looks at dust in space, right? But in fact, the way she does that is a bit like having X-ray vision, because she uses a type of light called infrared light. Now, I've seen you've got some of these cameras around Scifest, so go and have a look at them if you can. This is looking at the world through light that we can't see. It's like reading a heat map from something distant. So I'm just going to try a quick quiz on you and see if you can spot the items that we're going to show you when they're looked at in infrared light. Okay, here's the first one. What do you think that might be? Yeah? A hairdryer. So there's a scale on the side that tells you temperature. The red bits and the white bits are hottest, and the blue bits are coldest. So the interesting thing I think about this, you can just about make out that it's a hairdryer, but all of the things that were invisible are suddenly visible. So you can see all the turbulence of the air. Now, if you think about the engineers working on Bloodhound, they've got to model the turbulence of air on a car that's going to go super fast. Okay, and they've got to use all these kind of techniques to see what patterns are invisible that we need to understand. So that's a hairdryer. What about this one? What was that? Someone said? Someone with a match. Thank you very much. Someone holding a match. Sometimes people say it's a man holding a chili pepper, which it also looks like, but it's not hot in that way, okay? It's hot by temperature. So yeah, you can see that he has a match because it's white hot. That's the flame shape. Again, you can see something that your eyes couldn't see. So this gives us another route into the world. His glasses are blue because they're very cold and because infrared does not go through glass. So this is something astronomers need to know when they're building telescopes if they're going to look at infrared light. Last one. A zebra. Nice, yeah. But the unusual thing about this zebra picture is the lines that are black are actually the white lines of the zebra, okay? Because they're coolest. So the yellowy white lines you can see, they're the black bits of the zebra. So it's like an inverse zebra. You're looking at just the heat from a zebra because the black is hotter. And what Hayley does is she looks at distant parts of the sky. So if you look with an optical telescope, what you see, these beautiful pillars of creation in the sky, but there's lots of dust getting in the way. So she wants to develop what we call X-ray vision using infrared light to look behind them, and suddenly you can see all of the things that appear as if they weren't there before. And we have to measure this effect, okay? So this is something I think science communicators as a community, we need to get better at trying to capture these brilliant effects that what we do can have on people. as the minister was saying, some brilliant stories about things that can happen and change someone's life. As a sector, we need to be sharing that knowledge and actually understanding which things work. So this superhero show, we found, has had a much more positive effect in terms of attitude to science before and attitude after in females, because we've specifically highlighted women in these jobs, and it's had an effect. I'm just going to whiz through to say at the end that to go forward in science communication, I think what we need to do is much more collaboration. There's lots going on. Scifest is a brilliant example of how people can collaborate. Scientists need to communicate because the people want to hear from them. But that doesn't mean there's no need to have professional science communicators. The best things can happen when those two groups get together. We've worked with the engineers from Bloodhound, scientists at Cardiff University, and many other universities, and that is when real, magic can happen, if you like. Also, we have to train people to be the next generation of science communicators. Those people that we trained in 2006, the Sci Friends, I would love to know where they are now, what they're doing. Maybe we can find them somehow. And we actually need to find more research. I think we need to compile more research about what works, because the funders who fund all this brilliant stuff, it's great, but how do they know which bits are most effective? We need to really try and get to grips with that. So to finish, I want to try a quick last collaboration that I've not tried before, so it's going to be a bit of an experiment. But I want to do it because, again, it involves a bit of music and it gets you doing something musical as well. So I'm not going to tell you too much, but just follow, just see if we can pick it up, okay? Right. Ba, 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 ba. Good. Ba, 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 ba. Okay. It's not Black Sheep. Okay. Ba. Okay, it kind of works. Some of you did that. Give yourselves a round of applause. Well done. Okay. So, I urge you to look up the full version of that. Bobby McFerrin, who's a musician, did that at the World Science Fair, so I credit him for the idea. But what I love is that you're showing an audience a pattern. And if you show them the pattern and give them the tools to ask the right questions or form the right processes, when you then go into the unknown, they'll just make the pattern. They'll make that connection, and they'll make the pattern. I think that's quite a good message for science. Give people the right questions to ask. Give them the knowledge to ask good questions, and then they will learn about the process of science. So more collaboration, more music, and more emotion, and we should all inspire people to fall a little bit in love with science. Thank you very much.
Wendy, thank you very much. And can I just say that from my side, it's just been such an honor to watch you grow from this young physicist to this young lady that we took on Scifest on the road in 2003 to this super role model. Another round of applause for her, please.